Hey everybody, this is Lawson Leon again, here to talk about who is the wrestler of the year so far in 2016. Um, Now, when I talk about wrestler of the year, I'm in the newsletter for Wrestling Observer, it's always about the overall like in-ring work, draw, uh, promos, I guess everything else. Uh, but what I'm really gonna focus on in this episode is really the most outstanding wrestler. Um, because I don't I'm not as interested in draw. Like if you're a big draw, that's great. That's what the business that's what keeps the business alive. People going to see people. So that's great, but I don't have like the numbers in front of me. I don't know why. I I kind of think all the draw stuff can is a little it's not an exact science anyway. Like obviously there are trends and you can like figure out like, oh, people like this Stone Cold fella, so they really went to go see him. But I don't yeah, I'm gonna focus more on the in ring for 2016. I have a few names. um I got three names really that stand out to me this year, and I have another name of somebody who I think just is probably gonna is I think probably the wrestler of the year overall in terms of merch and promos and draw and all that. So really four guys I want to talk about. But let's start off with something weird. My friend Benel Hermosen, my former podcast colleague, I asked him who are his wrestlers of the year right now, and he gave me three names, and I'm gonna go in ascending order from what I think the from what the least viable to most viable candidates are. Least viable, he gave me is Ty Dillinger. Yes, he's picking Ty Dillinger as his wrestler of the year. And I messaged him back. I said, okay, let's just say in ring, because I love Ty, but there's not enough meat there. And he texted me, I gave you my three. You can't deny my love of Ty Dillinger. And I said, fair enough, because, it is fair enough. He loves Ty Dillinger. And Ty Dillinger's over. But the man's had three matches that I can remember from this year, and they all just happened. The two against Cien Almas and the one against Biff Busick, whatever. He's got a weird name now. Oni Larkin. And he lost all three of them, but he's over. I don't know. It's very confusing. Obviously, Ty Dillinger's nowhere near the wrestler of the year, though he might be some of your favorite wrestlers. Some of your guys' favorite wrestler. Uh, the other name he gave me was Johnny Gargano. Now here, Johnny Gargano's a name that I can fuck with. I didn't mention at the top, I have a little bit of a gimmick I got going here where I have in front of me my list of all the 4-star or higher rated matches I've seen this year. Um, so Johnny Gargano, a man who's working in Evolve. He's one of the faces of Evolve, really. One of the icons there. And I would say, let me just look at my list here. He also works for NXT, of course. And I think he might have just signed, and he might be. I don't know if this is true. I think he's finishing up with the Indies in the fall, so he's gonna be a full-time NXT talent. Him and Ciampa might be making a run for those tag straps. We'll see. So right here in January, I have Chris Hero and Tommy End versus Drew Galloway and Johnny Gargano, which was the Evolve Tag Team Championship Tournament Finals, and I gave that match 4.25 stars. That was a great match. There was one of those where they brawled all over in the crowd, which is a thing that a staple of Drew Galloway matches. But some people don't like crowd brawling. I like it if it's done well. In this match, it was done well, and it was different from the other tag matches of that tournament. If you go back, it was a great tournament for one. You go back and watch. There was no crowd brawling, I don't think, in any of the other matches. They were all very like in the ring heavy, and so this one just spilled all over. They fought all over. They went for like a half hour. They really tried to have an epic, and I think they mostly succeeded. Um, the Galloway and Gargano got the win, and were the first ever Evolve Tag Team Champions. 4 1/4 I gave that match. Um, my only other 4-star match for Gargano this year, though, is versus Marty Scurll in May, also in Evolve. They had like a mid-card match. It was great. I think Gargano handed Scurll his first loss in Evolve, I want to say. The Scurll's been on kind of a roll here. He's got a title shot coming up in a couple of weeks in New York, and I'm going to try to go to that show. I love Marty Scurll. He was great. Him and Gargano, a great dynamic there. They're both kind of similarly built, like kind of smaller guys. Um, yeah, I really enjoy the dynamic of face Gargano against the villain Scurll. A lot of great sequences in that match. 4 stars. So that's the only things I have for Gargano. So I don't think I could put him in the conversation for Wrestler of the Year this year. Although he is great, and I expect great things to come from him, no matter where he ends up. So the third name my friend sent me was a name that is kind of, well, okay, it's Chris Hero. Chris Hero is the third name he sent me. Now my friend Benel, he loves Chris Hero. This is no secret. He's an open worshiper of Chris Hero. So, but if Chris Hero's going around, in Evolve at least, and talking about how he's the greatest of all time, which is kind of, I mean, it's kind of a heel thing, because sometimes he works heel in matches. You know, he kind of works to whatever his opponent is doing. So when he's fighting Zack Sabre Jr., he calls himself the greatest of all time. Now, obviously, that's an exaggeration, but if he said anything less than that, it might not be an exaggeration. Like if Chris Hero were to proclaim himself the best in the world, or the greatest of this generation, or the best on the indies, which he probably would never say, because that's kind of whatever. I don't think any of those would be necessarily exaggerations. Let me just go over to my list here. For Chris Hero, I have in January Chris Hero versus Chris Hero and Tommy End versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Sami Callihan. 4.5 stars. Some people went 5 on that match. This match got a lot of heat around the internet and stuff. People heard about it. I saw people give it 4 3/4. I saw people give it 5. It was probably still the best tag match I've seen this year. It was an excellent match. The best Sami Callihan match I've ever seen. And yeah, I mean, Hero and the heat they got on Sabre, and then all the counters and reversals and the strikes. It was just truly an excellent display. Then I got Hero and Tommy End versus Roppongi Vice, 4 1/4 stars. Another great match. A lot of striking. I mean, like the Evolve Tag Tournament that they had in January was great, and the best team in it probably was Chris Hero and Tommy End. They had like all the best matches. Because then the other match I have is the already mentioned Hero and End versus Galloway and Gargano. 4 1/4 on that bad boy. Go to February. I got Candice LeRae, Joey Ryan, and Chris Hero, and Mike Bailey versus Mount Rushmore, 4 stars. From PWG, that was the crazy ass no DQ match, whatever they call it over there, Guerrilla Warfare, where it was just the most fun, crazy storytelling type of match. Where like Kyle O'Reilly came back, and it was just it was great. Now next I have in March, I've got Roderick Strong versus Chris Hero for the PWG World Title, 4 stars for that one. Just another great match. I've got in April Chris Hero versus Trent, also known as Trent Beretta. In PWG, I gave that 4 stars. I think Meltzer went 4 1/4. You could easily do that. I mean, it was one of the best Trent Beretta singles matches probably ever, and I really like Trent Beretta actually. I've always enjoyed his work. Um, and this Trent looked like such a Chris Hero made Trent look like uh, Sami Zayn. Like he made like Trent was like the best selling underdog fighting from underneath babyface, which is not even a character he really plays a lot, but Hero made him out to be like so sympathetic. It was so. I mean, this is the type of match where Chris Hero is a master. He's just because Trent Beretta doesn't play that role. That's not the role he ever plays. He's like the veteran who's like kind of goofy and nonchalant. But in this match, he was he was a completely different. He was Mike Bailey. Trent Beretta became Mike Bailey in this match, and because Chris Hero is just so good. In May, I have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Chris Hero, 4 stars. I think this is a match that other people ranked higher than me. I saw people giving it 4 3/4 and calling it a match of the year, and I didn't think it was that good, but I thought it was great. So 4 stars for that. Also in May, Chris Hero versus Evil Uno from PWG, 4 stars. And now I have from June, we have Chris Hero versus Mark Andrews. I don't know if you heard about this match. It's in Progress Wrestling. Chris Hero went over to England, and who knew? He was amazing there. 4.5 stars, Chris Hero versus Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews actually is that white meat baby face that we all deserve, and Chris Hero just domineering him was truly something to behold. And the last match I have here, Chris Hero versus Marty Scurll for the Progress World title. 4.5 stars. It was excellent. Another match of the year contender. I got nothing else to say. Those guys worked great together. A lot of heat for the match. There was a fight forever chant, which I hope doesn't become too much of a thing, because the thing that made that Zayn Nakamura match so special was that it was a new chant. So I hope every time there's an excellent match, we don't need to chant fight forever. But here, this match was so good that at least it was, warranted a bit. Because this was better than just the "this is awesome." So that's Chris Hero. I mean, the dude, he makes a great case. And, I mean, these are just the 4-star matches. I mean, these aren't... If he had, like, a 3 3/4 star match with a bunch of different people, then they just wouldn't be on my list. But man, he might be the best in the world right now. He's never been better. So, those are the 3 my friend Benel sent me. Now, I have the 3 that I have in mind. Number 1, I want to talk about AJ Styles. AJ Styles, I think easily the wrestler of the MVP of the WWE this year. But aside from that, I think has definitely a shot at winning Most Outstanding again. This would be the 3rd straight year. So and he won Wrestler of the Year last year as well. He took home both prizes. Not that he literally took them home. He just, got to see his name in a thing. So, let's start off. He started off in New Japan this year. Nakamura versus Styles, 4 3/4 stars at the Dome. An excellent semi-main event match. Some people went 5. It was excellent. Then in Rev Pro, Styles versus Zack Sabre Jr., 4 stars. This is where he dropped the Rev Pro, or the British heavyweight title to Zack Sabre Jr. Another great match, as you would expect. Maybe not as good as some people thought it would be, but I went 4 on it. I thought it was great. Now, oh wow, just skipped over February, which shows you WWE. I guess his match with Fastlane and Jericho at Fastlane, maybe like 3.5 stars I'd give it. But really, I don't have anything else for him until March, where Styles and Jericho versus the New Day. Remember that Raw TV match that they had? I went 4 stars on that. I thought that was great. Styles and Big E being really the stars of that match. Then Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles on Raw. I went 4 stars on that. I don't remember this match because they had a bunch of matches, but this was the best one. Whichever one that was. Owens versus Cesaro versus Jericho versus Styles. This was the Raw after Mania. Yeah. And I gave 4 stars to that match where he won the number one contendership to the title. I also, people were down on his match with Jericho at Mania, but I went 4 stars on that match as well. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. I might just be the high man on that one. The high vote, as it were. Um, Styles versus Sami Zayn on Raw, where Zayn would, if he won, he'd win his way into the title match. Styles beat him, 4 stars. Great Raw match. Just, I mean, 4 star Raw matches are not a common thing, and I've got 3 of them right here from AJ Styles. So, he's kicking ass so far. In May, I have AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns for the title at Extreme Rules, 4 stars. Was this Extreme Rules or no? This is Payback. I'm sorry. This is Payback, their first match where he gave him the flying forearm through the table. 4 stars for that match. Thought it was great. Then I have AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns from Extreme Rules, 4.25 stars. I thought this was even better. Some people went 4.5. I think Meltzer went 4.5 on this. Yeah, I thought it was just great. Styles was the star of both of those matches. Just doing great stuff. And then I have from June, John Cena versus AJ Styles, 4 stars from Money in the Bank. So, I mean, the dude, not to mention, not just, the in-ring work, but the feud with Reigns itself was just so good. It was definitely the feud of the year in WWE so far, but one of the best feuds of the year in wrestling in general, I think. So, yeah, AJ Styles definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Now, the other person I had in mind might be my favorite wrestler in the world right now. Definitely one of my favorite baby faces working, and that is Kushida. Kushida, the junior ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. The white meat babyface, a hero. I love him to death. I get behind him in every match he's in, even when he's wrestling like other guys that I love, like Will Ospreay or Jushin Liger. Um, Matt Sydal. I'm always rooting for Kushida. If he wrestled Sami Zayn, I wouldn't know who to root for. But so let's just go through my list here. And you might be thinking, oh, Kushida. Well, the thing is, the G1 hasn't happened yet, right? But the best of the Super Juniors has. So Kushida's been able, and I think Kushida was at definitely in the top 3 wrestlers of that tournament, if not the guy. I think he really was the ace of the tournament, as he is the ace of the division. So I'm just gonna go through the matches here. January, Wrestle Kingdom 10, the Dome, Kushida versus Kenny Omega, 4 stars. A great match. He won the title, and Omega's moved on to other things, but Kushida, this is where he won the title at the Dome. He had his moment, and off to the races for the year. And then I have in February, the Elite versus ACH, Matt Sydal and Kushida and Ring of Honor. I forgot what the name of the pay-per-view was, but 4.5 stars. Great, excellent match. It's a trios match, so he's 1/6 of the guys, but it's one of those matches where like everyone was awesome. It's just an everyone is awesome match, and Kushida was was not the lesser of the 6 by any means. It's 4.5 stars for that match. ACH versus Kushida. This, I don't know if enough people saw this match. This was in March. The Ring of Honor. I think it was one of their it's like one of their shows that you have to like. It's like a VOD show or something. So I don't know if everyone saw it, but ACH versus Kushida for the junior IWGP Junior title. 4.25 stars. This match was great. A lot of strong style stuff in here. Great strike exchanges. Great flying, especially from ACH. But Kushida was the veteran here and really the linchpin that held the match together. I love that match. It was my favorite, or one of my favorite matches in March, for sure. Now we go to April here. I got Will Ospreay versus Kushida from Invasion Attack. 4.5 stars. Match of the year contender. Um, what else is there to say? Uh, May, Kushida versus Jushin Thunder Liger for the strap again at Dontaku. 4 stars. That was another great match. Kushida, just pulling him out every title defense. And that match he had with Bushi, I think it was in February. Some people went 4 or higher on that one. I went 3 3/4, just because I'm not a huge fan of the interference. But again, that's another real good match. Some people thought great to excellent. So, I think Meltzer gave it 4 1/4. So, yeah, I mean Kushida's just cranking out these great defenses. So now we go to later in May. So the Best of the Super Junior starts. Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly, 4.5 stars on day 1 of the Best of the Super Juniors. This is one of my favorite matches of the year. Just if you haven't seen it, I think it was better than the Ospreay Ricochet match, which got all that heat, just because it was like super flyy and flashy. But I think Kushida versus O'Reilly was a tad better than that. But again, that kind of depends on your tastes. This is more of a clinical, grappling, technical wrestling match, which Kushida's excellent at. He can fly, he can grapple, he can sell, he can strike. And he's got great babyface reactions and facials. Love him to death. And O'Reilly's like maybe his best dance partner. These two have amazing chemistry. So I went 4.5 on that one. Now we go to June here. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, no, June. That makes, yeah, because there's more Best of the Super Junior stuff. Kushida versus Matt Sydal, I went 4 stars on. Kushida versus Ryusuke Taguchi, I went 4 stars on. And then there's a Ring of Honor TV match here, where once again he wrestled Kyle O'Reilly. I went 4 stars on that. He had a match with Gato, which I gave 3 3/4 stars. It's not here, but I remember it. It was really good. And then we come to Dominion, where he wrestled Will Ospreay again, and 4 1/4 I gave that match. Not as good as Invasion Attack, but still pretty great. Yeah, Kushida, man, that's a hell of a resume, I think, for the junior ace there. Might be my number 1 pick, but there's another guy who I think we have to talk about if we're gonna talk about most outstanding wrestler or wrestler of the year. And I really think, yeah, not surprisingly, I've mentioned him a couple times already. It's Mr. Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay. Now this is okay. When Progress Wrestling released that show on YouTube for free because, quote, one of their cameras is broken or something, part of me thinks that's like a work and it's not even true, that they just realized that if they just released this awesome show, they would get a ton of buzz, because that is what happened. They had the show where Prince Devitt was dressed up as the Joker and he wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. in a great match. Jimmy Havoc and Mark Andrews had a ladder match in the main event. But really, the thing that I remember the most from the show is that that's the first time I saw Will Ospreay. And, Will Ospreay's, he's really, he's kind of divisive among fans. I think people were missing the point a little bit on him. He's not the complete package mature wrestler yet, but man, he's got like all the tools. He's I love his work. I think he's definitely one of the best in the world. I think a shoo-in to win the Best Flyer award. Yeah, so let's just go through his matches here. He might have the most. Skrull versus Ospreay from Rev Pro. Same show as Styles versus Sabre. These two stole the show. 4 3/4 stars. 4 3/4 stars. Yeah, this match was crazy because they didn't just do each other's moves, they did each other's whole comeback sequences. That, I mean, this was a classic and epic and all that stuff. It was insane what these guys did, and this really set the standard for what a Marty Scurll Will Ospreay match is now. All the sequences they did and stuff, it was amazing. Um, Now, later in January, Will Ospreay versus Marty Scurll for the Progress title. 4 3/4 stars, a no DQ match, a different match. They did some of the similar things, but a different match that told a different story, and I thought it was also excellent. These both match of the year contenders. Um, Now we go to February, PWG Trevor Lee versus Will Ospreay, 4 stars. Two of the best millennial wrestlers in the world. Great stuff. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, 4.5 stars from PWG. Again, excellent. They stole the show. Ospreay stole. I mean, you know, Ospreay and Omega were the two best performers on the 2 nights. Now we go to March. Right? Yeah, the end of March here. Will Ospreay versus Shane Strickland in WXW. 4.5 stars. Excellent match. Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey versus Marty Scurll and Trevor Lee. 4.25 stars. Another great match. April. Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. 4.5 stars. This was the Dallas match. Yes, right? Yes, it was. This was the Dallas match. This is the match where some people went 5. Got a lot of buzz. It was amazing and excellent and all those things. Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. from WXW, 4.25 stars. It's another great match. Will Ospreay versus Ricochet the next night in Dallas, 4.25 stars. They main evented the show. It was spot festy. It was great. I loved it. Some people went higher. Some people went 4.5 on that. Those are the Evolve shows, by the way. The Sabre and Ricochet matches. They were Evolve shows in Dallas. Then we got Mercury Rising, WWN Live, Ospreay, Tommy End and Marty Scurll versus Kota Ibushi, Johnny Gargano, and TJP. Trios match, it's definitely the best trios match of the year, I think. I went 4 3/4 on this match. It was crazy. They did crazy shit, and everything Ospreay and Ibushi did with each other was it was magic. Then we have Ospreay versus Kushida, Invasion Attack, 4.5 stars. Just cranking them out, man. I mean, dude, the output is insane with this guy. Now we go to Ospreay versus Marty Scurll. This must have been WrestleCon. Yes, it was. WrestleCon, they had a match for the Progress title. 4.25 stars in like 15 minutes. It wasn't the 30-minute epics they had in January. They just 15 minutes, just went out, 4.25 star match. Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. in Rev Pro TV. This was in May now. 4.25 stars for that match. Again, just great. They did a lot of similar stuff they did in their first encounter, but not exactly the same. Just great stuff. Will Ospreay versus Trent Beretta. Oh, this is the best of the Super Juniors. 4 stars. Just another great match. Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. Here we go. This is the best of the Super Juniors match that everyone was talking about. Garnered all the buzz around the world, and at least here in the West. I went 4.5 on it. Some people went 4 3/4. Some people went 2, because fuck them. They flipped a lot. I didn't like it, or whatever. I don't think the hate on this match is really as real as people made it out to be. I think it was just like, I mean, the Vader thing. Now it feels like the whole Vader thing is just a work, because now they're going to wrestle each other. So, I mean, it's whatever. People are always going to shit on whatever is a thing that people like, so it's fine. You don't have to like Will Ospreay, but I'm telling you, when this dude matures and his flying slows down, actually, he's just gonna be one of the best in the world. I mean, he's gonna be, this dude is the next Rey Mysterio, really, or whatever. His 2016 is like 96 Rey Mysterio Jr. Um, and when he matures, I think he could become an even bigger star than Rey. I think because I just he can strike better than Rey, you know. He's like a little taller. He doesn't. He's a good-looking kid. You know, Rey's part of the appeal was the mask, you know. But I think Ospreay could be like, who knows? Honestly, I mean, I really don't know. But he could he could be like a huge drawing star for years to come. I think it will be. Um, and I thought this match with Ricochet was excellent. And it was like a wrestling match. It wasn't like a choreographed dance. I mean, people say that, but it's not. It wasn't really. I mean, there was aspects of that, but really in the beginning, and then they just wrestled like everyone else does. So I don't know. Will Ospreay versus Ryusuke Taguchi, the Best of Super Juniors Finals, 4.5 stars, another excellent match. I mean, again, this dude's getting pushed. Is everyone else wrong? The people that hate this guy, it's weird to me, because it's like, you know, he's popping all the UK crowds loved him, the Dallas crowds, the American crowds love him, and PWG as well. The Japanese crowds love him. He's popping all these places. Is everyone wrong? I mean, I don't get it. I think anyway, this finals match, excellent. His selling was excellent. He did a one-legged springboard because his leg was being worked on for the whole match. And I forgot to mention the Kushida matches where he did the no-handed back handspring because his arm was being worked on. Who fucking does that? Kenny Omega, really. That's it. No one else sells that well. No one else tells a story like that well with what they do in the ring. I mean, you know, that I shouldn't say that because but not with their body parts, if that makes sense. No one else sells body parts that well. So yeah, and then Will Ospreay versus Kushida from Dominion, 4.25 stars. Probably the front runner for most outstanding. I gotta say, as much as I love Kushida, as great as Styles is, probably Ospreay's probably the guy. Mostly because of the Skrull matches. Those Skrull matches and the Saber matches, I gotta say, they both put it over the top. I think he has better matches against Skrull and Saber than Skrull and Saber have against each other, I think. So, you know, and his matches with Kushida, on par with Kushida's matches with O'Reilly, like, he just seems to be everyone's best opponent. I mean, his matches with Ricochet. Ricochet, I don't think he's had better singles. Sorry. I don't think he's had better singles matches against anyone else this year. So, Taguchi, the best singles match I've ever seen Taguchi have was against Will Ospreay. So, you know, the dude's this is probably his year. I predict I will vote for him as most outstanding at the end of the year. But yeah. So, who else is there though? There's other people, and I don't want to. You know, those are the three front runners. I think. I think somebody who's not going to get the recognition maybe he deserves, because it's not like cool or trendy, is Kazuchika Okada. Because, you know, he's the ace and all that, so like it's boring to pick him. He's the ace of New Japan. He's the guy. It's like picking John Cena, you know, even though he hasn't been on top nearly as long, and he's way better in the ring. And it's not a slam against Cena. Okada is just, I mean, what we're watching with Kazuchika Okada is a man in his prime, in his youth to his prime, of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. That's what he is. He's one of the best wrestlers of all time, and I can clearly say that. I mean, when it's all said and done, where will he rank among the annals of the Misawas and Kobashis and Shawn Michaels? Who's to say? But he is. If he retired tomorrow, well, I mean, it would definitely hurt his case. But if he retired tomorrow, he would definitely be considered one of the greatest of this generation, if not the. You know, I mean, so let's just go through his year really quick, because you know like oh Kazuchika Okada wrestler of the year snooze, but let's hear me out for a second here. Uh, First of all, you know, and it's always first of all because that's the nature of Wrestle Kingdom. It happens in January. His main event with Tanahashi at the Dome, 5 stars. I went full 5 on that. Everybody did, more or less. I mean, everyone I've seen gives it 5, and it's pretty not consensual. The consensus is that this is at this current moment when I'm recording this on July 3rd. Who knows when I'll get this out? Probably not till later. But Okada versus Tanahashi from Wrestle Kingdom 10 is the match of the year. I think it's my match of the year. I don't think anything else is really on quite its level of the intricacies of the storytelling, the nuances, all the counters and reversals. The fact that these guys have wrestled each other so many times and they figured out counters for their counters for their counters, and there's everything they've done to each other. Just and the image that'll always stay with me, and is I think someone put it as a pure Japanese wrestling purosu staple from now on. The image of Tanahashi slapping Okada, giving an open hand strike, and Okada not letting go of the wrist. Just doesn't let go of the wrist. Okada shoots him off for the Rainmaker. Tanahashi slaps him, and Okada just he sells. His eyes glaze, and he looks down, or he doesn't look down. His head goes down because he just got fucking slapped in the face. But he doesn't let go of the wrist, and then he raises his head. He lets out a primal scream, and he fucking rainmakers Tanahashi, and he gives him another one, and then another short arm clothesline, and then he picks him up, gives him a full rainmaker, and pins him. It was, I mean, it's one of my favorite finishes that I think I've ever seen. I'm gushing about this one match, but it is like the match of the year, I think. So I think that's warranted. So he has that. Okada has that. Now, it's kind of a lull there because he had that match against Goto, which was, I mean, just okay. I probably gave it like 3.5 stars. We go to April here. Naito versus Okada Invasion Attack, 4.25 stars. He drops the belt to Naito there. We go to May. He has a match with Sonata. I went 4 stars on it. Some people went lower. I think Meltzer went 4 on it. Some people were like thought it was too like I don't know dry and like it was like, but no one really went lower than like 3.5. But I'm going 4. If you watch that match again, Okada and Sonata, they clearly have good chemistry. Some really cool reversals in there. It's really, I mean, it's worked like a great Okada technical match, with just a lot of great reversals and a great finishing sequence. May, now we go to June, and Okada versus Naito, 4.5 stars. So those are the only ones I have for Okada at this moment. G1's around the corner, though. I mean, we'll see. Now, I think, we can't talk about Okada without talking about Naito this year. Naito is a guy who, as an overall Wrestler of the Year candidate, I think has a strong claim, actually. Because Naito, his Dome match with Goto, it was good. Let's go to March here. Ishii versus Naito in the New Japan Cup, 4.25 stars. Some people went higher. It was a great match, though. New Japan Cup Finals, March. Naito versus Goto, 4.25 stars. Thought it was great also. April, Naito versus Okada Invasion Attack, 4.25. Just talked about that. May, Naito versus Ishii for the title at Dontaku, 4.5 stars. Excellent stuff. Love that match. We go to, later in May, ACH versus Naito in Ring of Honor, 4 stars. That was a great match. I remember that. And then we go to June, Okada versus Naito, Dominion, 4.5 stars. Yeah, so Naito, he's got actually more matches than Okada does. Part of it being the champion, you get get those big singles matches. But I think as overall rest of the year, Naito's got to be consideration. Uh, Now, I think there's another name that I wanted to talk about, although I don't think he this is oh yeah, I don't think he's the wrestler of the year, but I do think he's underrated. And my favorite underrated wrestler, I want to say, is Matt Sydal. I love Matt Sydal. I think he's an elite. He's one of the best in the world, and he puts out consistently great matches, much like a Finn Balor, I would say, or a Jay Lethal. I would say just in the spot where you can put out a great match, he will. And that's the thing with Sydal, and I love him. And I think because he's the thing about him is, yeah, he's a flyer, but he can grapple, he can technical wrestle, you know, and he's never a guy that does too much, you know. Like, so that's what some people don't like about, like, the Will Ospreays or the Ricochets, or even like the like a Davey Richards type. It's weird talking about him now because nobody watches TNA, but he never does too much, but he gets a lot out of what he does, which is saying a lot. So I'll start in February. PWG, Roderick Strong versus Matt Sydal for the PWG title, 4 stars. It's a great match. The Elite versus ACH, Sydal and Kushida. You remember this match. Ring of Honor, 4.5 stars. Yep, talked about it already. Ring of Honor TV, Matt Sydal versus Adam Cole, baby. 4 stars. Sydal won that match and then would go on to challenge Jay Lethal. It was a surprising win, but it was, you know, it legitified Sydal that he beat a top guy like Adam Cole. So then we go to March and we have the actual match between Matt Sydal and Jay Lethal, which I don't think anyone saw because it's on the same show as that ACH versus Kushida match. It was a VOD show, but it was a great match. Sydal versus Lethal, 4 stars, great match. It's consistency. That's the thing with Sydal. I don't know if there's gonna be any match of the year contenders in here, besides that trios match, but consistently great work. April, Sydal and Ricochet versus Roppongi Vice, 4 stars. I guess that was Invasion Attack. Yeah, it was. Man, those IWGP Junior tag matches are so forgettable. It's just, even when they're great, it's a shame. We go to Sydal versus Kyle O'Reilly. This is Ring of Honor. Oh, this is Supercard of Honor. That was a great show. This is a show of the year contender, this show. Sydal versus O'Reilly, 4.25 stars. I actually thought this was one of the top 2 matches of the show. It was really great. Sydal and O'Reilly. Then we go to Sydal and Ricochet versus the Young Bucks in May in PWG. Yeah. Meltzer gave that 4 3/4. I don't know if I go that far. 4 1/4 though. It was great. I really loved it. Now we go Death by Elbow versus Ricochet and Sydal. I went 4.5 on that one. I thought that was even better. Death by Elbow was the team of Chris Hero and JT Dunn. Again, in front of that PWG crowd, they went for like a half hour. It's a lot of striking, a lot of cool shit. It was just great. Like a great indie tag match. And then we go to Sydal versus O'Reilly in the Best of the Super Juniors, 4 stars again. Those two have great chemistry. Then we go to Kushida versus Sydal, Best of the Super Juniors, 4 stars again. This is another great wrestling match with those guys. Now, you know, it's occurring to me now, after reading those. There's another guy I probably should talk about. That's Kyle O'Reilly, right? I mean, Kyle O'Reilly's had some great shit this year, so I'm gonna do Kyle O'Reilly here. February, Jay Lethal versus Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, 4 stars. I remember that. That was the main event of that Ring of Honor show. I forgot what it was called, but it was that was a great main event though. Lethal retained. And we go to April here. Sydal versus O'Reilly. Yep, just talked about these. That was a Supercard of Honor match. Now we have Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. This was their blow off to their big feud. I'm gonna go 4.25 on that. It was a great, like, it wasn't as good as their final battle match from last year, but it was a great blow off, like, plunder. We hate each other. I mean, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly kind of became the new Cena and Generico. I'm not saying they're as good as those guys, or the feud is as good as those guys' feud was, but it was great though. It was one of the best Ring of Honor feuds in a while. With KUSHIDA O'Reilly, 4.5 stars. Yep, talked about that. Kyle O'Reilly versus Marty Scurll from PWG, 4.5 stars. This match was excellent. I love this match. Oh man, it was just excellent. You gotta watch it, really. And then we got Sato versus O'Reilly, 4 stars. And then, yep, O'Reilly versus Kushida on Ring of Honor television. So yeah, Kyle O'Reilly is another guy who I would at least, is in the conversation. Not necessarily toward the top of the list, but, yeah, so those are the guys who I think, might be the Wrestlers of the Year in 2016. I just want to throw some other names out there. Nakamura, I guess he's kind of a one match, two match thing, but throw him out there. Who else? Tanahashi, also really a 2-match guy. The Dome match and the match against Omega. Omega, though, I'll throw out there because he has the PWG matches. He has his New Japan work. As I look through this, yeah, I mean, Tomohiro Ishii. Tomohiro Ishii is another guy who's, I think, possibly the best in the world. His matches with Evil, with Naito, with Shibata. I probably should have done a whole thing about Ishii, actually. I think he probably was more warranted to talk about than Seidel. But I just really love Seidel, because I think he's underrated. But Ishii definitely has a case, I think. Yeah. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, those 3 guys wrestling, basically carrying the mid-card for all this whole year in WWE. I think those guys all deserve some appreciation. And I guess, now I look at it, Ricochet, yeah, he's in all these, his team with Seidel, his matches with, the one match with Ospreay, his Lucha Underground work also, can't count him out. Marty Scurll, I mean, he had the matches with Ospreay, those were his best, but he had that match with O'Reilly I just talked about. He had some other matches in Evolve and everywhere else. So, yeah, I mean, it's a strong time for wrestling, guys. There's a lot of great stuff out there. It's don't get bogged down with all the booking botches and negativity that's out there. I mean, it happens to me. I'm very negative on some things right now, but when you look over at the year, man, a lot of great stuff, a lot of talented people that we have the pleasure of watching do their thing. So, I'm sure I forgot some people, because I'm just scrolling through my list. It's like, seeing all these names, with Trevor Lee, the work he's done in CWF is like really, I want to at least mention him for that. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of talented people. Okabayashi. So, I mean, I love American Alpha. They really just have those 2 matches, though. Yeah, so, anyway, guys, thanks for listening, if you listened to all of this. Or if you skipped around, either way. So yeah, let me know in the comments who you think the Wrestler of the Year is so far. I definitely left people out, but, yeah, let me know. Peace.